We are live now. Okay, there we go. Our internet is extra scuffed because OBS is not showing any green whatsoever right now. But I did press record. So here we are. Hello and welcome to the recording of the episode 9 for Tawagoto Café. This is probably a weird number for y'all because episode 8 isn't, well, as of me speaking right now, it's not out yet, but it will be. It will be out by the time this comes out. Joining us today is Seele, the actual other host.
Hello.
Are we on?
Hello.
Yes, hello. We are good. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we're sort of scuffed. This stream is so super scuffed. Our drop frames are at 50%.
No, I'm just not talking.
Jeez. We are starting off pretty rough, aren't we? Okay. But again, as I just said, we have pressed record and we will continue recording with this even though the stream might likely be really, really bad. But anyway, welcome to the year-end Denryu Music Roundup that was supposed to be its own video, but ended up being basically one of these anyway. And besides, it allows us to experiment with a little bit of more slightly rigid, but not so much talking setup.
Rigidity in this show?
No, no. We did try, but you know, this show has a lot of like leeway to it, so that's why I only put four things in the outline for this episode. And even then, the way this show works is that we're free to tangent into literally anything anyway. Okay, so we'll start. We'll start by introducing. Wait, is it on? It's on in the wrong. So the idea behind this was that I was supposed to be running down a bunch of music that I really liked this year. And the thing about it is that I was supposed to like prepare a huge like top 10 list and everything, but no. What we have is a literal browser window, which doesn't work. Oh geez, and it's even loading the wrong video. There it is. And this is the first one that we're going to be talking about today. This is Byakya by Reol. And this was actually like a super last minute addition to the whole thing because the album that this is on did not even come out until like 2 weeks ago, and I was making my top 10 list, and I was like, I need a 10th album, and I didn't have a 10th album for the longest time until I had this. And it's not even the full album, but anyway, here it is. This is the theme song, or at least the commissioned theme song to the mobile game Alchemy Stars. And I do want to basically preface this by saying that Reol is possibly one of my like favorite Japanese artists right now. And it's weird because like we've seen Reol from the early days when she was basically a Vocaloid producer. Henji Ganai.
Yeah, somo. Like, I like Reol, but I'm not that much acquainted with her actual range and such, especially her recent works.
So
I only know her back in her Giga days, basically.
Well, Giga is still basically
Giga is still her producer, but yeah.
Like half this newest album isn't even produced by Giga, so that's another thing. This song isn't even produced by Giga; it's produced by Kotono House. And the I think we've already used up the browser source enough for this because the song isn't even playing because copyright issues. And
Yep.
the one thing that I do want to discuss specifically about Reol isn't necessarily about her music specifically, but there is a thing about what constitutes quote-unquote real vocals in music. Because
What do you mean?
Reol's claim to fame is that, well, one, she started as a vocal producer, and then she started singing on the songs. And then when she started singing on the songs, it was like, this era, like this is the no title kind of era. Like that was like a really interesting point in that history where a Vocaloid producer releases an album that has two versions of it. One being the one that has like Vocaloid vocals on them, and the other one is actually Reol singing, which is like super interesting because like for once, like this is like a trend that eventually becomes a thing later on with Hachi making
It's
music as
essentially a staple now, actually.
Hachi making music as Kenshi Onizu, Balloon, who is singing, and I forgot the actual real name alias that Balloon uses, but there is that. And for the longest time, the Reol has what I like to call like hyper produced her voice, in the sense that like she layers effects upon effects on her voice to the point that it actually sounds almost like a manipulated
It's almost auto-tuned. It's almost like a Vocaloid, but it's not.
it's neither. Yeah.
It's neither.
And I like to point that out because I'm a very my listening taste really gravitate towards this kind of heavy electronic music kind of leaning background, and I've had to read a lot of flack about it online, about how music like this is quote unquote taking over the mainstream, and there's like no it's not really effort. There's like no artistic value to be had in this kind of music, which is interesting because it's like, to me, this Reol is a really good example of what I consider to be like a paradox in terms of how the more electronic something gets, the more emotive it actually kind of sounds at the end. And especially because nowadays, Reol actually has like moved away from that very hyper produced early sound and allowed more of the natural timbre of her voice to like shine through every once in a while. Like it lets through sometimes in like key moments, like there when the group Reol, the one with Giga and Okiku, disbanded, she actually had a phase when she wanted to do mostly just not instrumental, but mostly not electronic rock music. And her vocals on, I think it's called the Bunme EP is, I think, what the name of that album is called, are totally unprocessed, and that's like a complete 180 from whatever she had been producing before this. But because the note that the album that came before it was the Sigma album, and Sigma's lead single was "Give Me a Break, Stop Now," which
I listened to that. I remember listening to that.
and that song like polarized the fan base.
I liked it, at least personally.
Yeah, it polarized the fan base. This showed Reol at her most mainstream. I think Sigma was, and then that era was kind of short-lived because that Reol, in all caps, the group with Giga and Okiku, never got another release. Well, not another full album. They did another EP called the Endless EP, which had their versions of Laboratory, among others, on it. It only has 5 songs on it, but yeah, Reol, the group, only has 2 releases, 1 full album and 1 mini album, and then that's it. And then so Reol has 3 eras. Reoru in hiragana, which is the first one, which is the Vocaloid days. Reol in all caps, which is the when she was signed into a major label. And then Reol, only the first R is capitalized, the current era. And this is, again, this is mostly a thing. Something is going on in the background. Anyway, that usually we cut this out whenever we record, but this is live, so we can't really do that now.
Eh, rainy season.
Yeah, it is the no, it's not rainy season. This room now also serves as the pantry, and now people are coming
Okay.
into it and like taking stuff. So that's what it is.
Hmm.
This room is multi-purpose. Anyway, so yeah, Reol is basically one of my go-to examples. The other being like Porter Robinson, which was supposed to be the other thing that I wanted to talk about in the year-end thing, because Porter Robinson's album did come out this year.
Hmm.
But this is like the idea that how can something so artificial end up sounding rather human and actually very emotive in the process. And to me, that's like actually the power of electronic music, that sometimes it's very much an acquired taste that I really do think about it sometimes, that hey, what the heck does real music even mean? And I think the answer to that is real music is music that makes you feel things, and real makes me feel things.
I think it also requires a significant amount of skill to be able to actually pull that off.
Yeah. Because, like, I do. Well, I can relate some of my experiences as a sound engineer somewhat, because I've done vocal processing for people as well. Autotune does not make you a good singer. You can't rely on on tuning system unless you have Melodyne. In which case, like using Melodyne is almost like that's not autotune anymore. Just you're literally using the voice as an instrument at this point. If you have Melodyne, I don't think that counts.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can go ahead, you can do that. I mean, but at the same time, it's like I guess there is like the bit of like cynicism in the sense that mainstream music is getting like watered down and like how does it homogenized. There's just like a sense of everything is being homogenized towards the same sound, and the vocal processing kind of like hints toward that. And I can see where people are coming from that when I'm listening to some segments of mainstream pop music. But at the same time, like the songs that I do like that are pop leaning tend to have like a bit of character towards them that most quote unquote mainstream acts don't. So which is why I kind of like there's like this weird intersection between indie and pop where you don't have the label but you want to write the pop music. And
Mhm.
that's usually where the really good people reside in. I was like, so it doesn't matter if your material is like so mainstream. Is the fact that how your approach is in doing it is actually kind of what matters in the end,
That's true.
right? That should be enough for this part. Let's proceed to the next segment, which is yours. This is your
Okay.
segment. Uh, your first thing that you really like this year is Girls Legend U, which is the opening to the mobile game Uma Musume.
Of Uma Musume, yeah. So for the uninitiated, Uma Musume is a mobile game from Cygames, which is essentially a horse racing simulator. Except all the horses are girls. As you can see, there are different horses, such as well the main cast from the PC anime, and then some other girls and other horses that you only see later on in the game itself. Now, Girls Legend U in particular is its opening theme song. And what? Hold on, let me listen to it again. Actually,
You can
so it's yeah,
you can do it on your
Girls
own
Legend,
device.
yeah, Girls Legend U in particular is a strange song because it's meant and structured as an idol song. However, so the Girls Legend U. So it's structured like an. It's supposed to be structured like an idol song, but it's actually structured like a march.
Yeah, the very beginning section of it is a march.
Yeah. So it's like don't stop till finish. Then you have the opening riff,
Yeah.
and then basically a gallop.
It's very sound painting is what it is actually.
It's sound painting basically, and that's pretty much the style that I like with regards to uh, songs like these.
Yeah.
So you have the first part, which essentially goes like, okay, it's the opening of the story of an Uma Musume, and then you get to the bridge where the struggles as you start out, etc., etc., and then talk,
Yeah, here's an interesting thing about the setting of Uma Musume, is that while the girls are also racehorses and like their one of their main things that they do is race, because they're racehorses. They're just girls, but they're also
Yeah.
racehorses. For some reason, Psy Games made it a thing that they're also idols, and
Yeah.
it's also like fully expressed in the music and
In this music itself, yeah.
in the anime actually. Even though
Like if you-
less so, but it's still there.
Now, the anime likes to portray more of the racing aspect.
Yeah, the
of
racing
it,
aspect. So that's why I said less
not the
because
idol aspect. But the thing is, Girls Legend you condenses that aspect as well into the song itself.
yeah,
It's in the composition. Like the lyrics, the tempo. It's all a race, basically.
if anything, this is actually I think one of the most successful examples of like because I know that's been a trend in anime. Well, not in anime. In any Japanese media ever since I'd like to say like the mid 2010s, where whenever there is a series with a particularly large group of female seiyuu or voice actors, there is a tendency to one cast voice actresses who can sing, and
Yeah.
two make the opening or ending themes be sung by them in character.
And that's a pretty old trend, actually. Like, it's always been done. As long as you have a female ensemble cast, the usual trend is that the opening and ending theme songs and sometimes even insert songs will be sung by them. And Uma Musume is no different in that aspect. In fact, it leans more toward that aspect because of its genre as as an anime idol franchise. But what stands out here is really, for Girls Legend U at least, it's how baked into the composition the entire theme of the franchise is. Because you have it, for example, let me pause my the song for a bit
Okay,
since I am
you're still
listening.
playing the song. Okay,
Yeah, I'm still playing the song. So the song, it's horse race typically has three legs: start, middle, and last leg. The song is the same. It has a start, middle, and last leg, and it gets more and more intense as you progress from start to last leg. Especially because you, as the listener, you are the equivalent of both the viewer, of both the audience of the race and the horse girl itself.
oh okay,
Since well, all the lyrics there are from the point of view of the horse girl, but the feelings are like shared between both you, the viewer, or rather the audience, the trainer, which what you are actually in game, and the horse girl that you're training. Especially since let me unpause. Like once you get to the last leg, it starts like listing down all of the motivations that each horse girl has, as long along with their trainer. Each motivation they have in regards to the race, and then at the very end of the bridge, it goes like "Kachtai, Kachtai, Kachtai, Kimito Kachtai."
I want to win with you, and then the with you
Yeah,
comes in.
yeah, and then finally goes to the last leg, which is pretty much. Wait. Let me give my GF a good night.
Okay, so yeah, it's interesting that especially because you mentioned that the song structure always has, not really always, the song structure for this particular song has this like three parts, and there's a marked tempo change in between each one. It's not probably not that obvious from the first listen, but there is definitely a change in not necessarily tempo, but also like dynamics, and there's always like as a piece of the song escalates when you get to the next section. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it keeps on escalating, especially when it comes to the last leg. The last leg is the most tense part of the race.
It's very different from a usual pop song structure, which is or
It's
idol
very,
sorry, idol song structure, which is a thing
yeah.
apparently.
All right, I've said good night to my GF.
Okay.
Let's continue, and then I'll also be sleeping after my second song. So continuing on, where was I? All right. See, see here, Girls Legend U progresses pretty much like a race, both in uh, it's pretty much a race,
Yes, it is. Yeah, you mentioned that already.
basically, and it just gets more and more intense as you go along the entire series of legs, and it's how do I put this? It's really hard to convey without actually letting people hear the
I will
composition.
just link the songs in the description.
Yeah, please do, because the thing is, you have to hear the progression in order to get what I'm talking about there. Unless, of course, you've been to a horse race yourself. In which case, if you've ever betted on a horse, and I've never betted on a horse, and unless it's in Uma Musume, you do get the sensation that okay, start. You can see your horse running, and okay, good start, good start. Okay, bad start, but we can get there, we can get there. And then once you get to the middle session, you go like, okay, she's gotten to a stable position, or okay, good, she's in a really good position, or you'd be like, she needs to get a bit further in, and then finally, once you get to the last leg, once you get to the last turn, you'd be like, fuck. Please let me, please let me win. Style, basically.
If I was editing this, I'd probably be putting like insert footage from Quizknock of that one episode that they're betting on horses.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's basically the feelings encapsulated in Girls Legend U. And then of course there's also the feelings that encapsulated once you play the game, because you essentially connect with the horse girls, and then you get to know more about their story, etc., etc. It's it's quite a ride, even though neither me nor Kasha have been playing Uma Musume since for a while now.
For a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
there
mean, she got
was
bored of it.
definitely a
Yeah.
time when the entire server
The entire
was
server was full of horses.
yeah, the entire server was full of horses.
I mean, I still have Uma Musume in my phone. I could play it anytime I want.
Yeah. There's a bunch of games I have on my phone that I've not been playing as much because reasons, but still, yeah.
But yeah, like that's pretty much how Girls Legend U is. Plus, there's also another aspect to it that I'd like to discuss in like 5 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Idol songs don't usually go for big band
Wait, really?
compositions.
I
Not often.
Oh,
Not
okay,
often.
interesting. Because I don't know, something about like the whole big band like slash ska aspect of it kind of makes me feel like, oh yeah, that's definitely a idol song because they use this kind of instrumentation. And I
They
don't
use this kind of instrumentation, but not the composition.
of a big band jazz band.
Not even jazz band, marching band.
Oh yeah, okay. Now that you made the distinction, because this is
Yeah.
specifically a marching band song.
It's a marching band song that goes really, really hard because this is also the same sort of fanfare that you would hear in horse racing.
That also makes sense to basically make it stand out more from the crowd because, again, as I said, otherwise it would be like pretty
It would
common
just sound like
instrumentation.
yeah.
Because brass is like such an important and ubiquitous part of idol music at this point.
Well, trumpets mostly for most idol music, but there's like I'm not sure, but I think there's a tuba in there in Bird's Legend U.
It's a full
So
ensemble.
it's a full ensemble of a marching band. So that's also a unique selling point to it. Like the whole grand grand instrumentation that goes along with the spirit of horse racing.
Oh, horse racing. Okay.
Like okay, so putting this out there before anyone misunderstands, I do not bet on horse races, and I do think that there is shady stuff happening with regards to horse racing in general. But Uma Musume is good. If you detach it from the ethics, Uma Musume is good. If you attach the ethics to it, well, there's nuances here and there that you have to consider. But otherwise, the songs are good.
Yeah,
Good are
actually,
good.
I that might be a different conversation in the future, but I have
That's a
no
different
idea. Because
conversation.
I've never seen the Uma Musume, or I've never consumed any part of this franchise except for this song in particular. So
Oh
yeah.
wait, you weren't around while I was streaming the anime
I no.
randomly.
Oh, sorry. I did watch some of it. So
Okay,
so
you
I
can
did
watch
look
some of
up
it.
some of the horses and their like Uma Musume counterparts, but that's about what I did.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so never mind.
And
I was around when but I didn't do it by my I did it because I was curious, but I didn't have a personal experience with it in the sense that okay, I installed the Uma Musume game on my phone. No, not that kind of involvement in the series. Let's proceed to something that we definitely have involvement in. This was supposed to be my segment, but considering that we both like this particular song so much, we decided to make it a joint section. This is Stellar Stellar by Hoshimachi Suisei.
だって僕は星だから。
This is such a big blast of debut energy. Even though this is not necessarily
This
like the debut of Suisei, but
this
this
is
is
not
the
her debut
debut
song.
major
This is
label, I think debut.
yeah,
This
not
is
just major. Like this is her album opener of
Yeah, this
all
is the
time.
first song on Still Stellar, which was supposed to be one of the top 10 songs that I was going to be talking about. And this is interesting because the timing of it matters, right? This isn't just a
Yes.
debut for Suisei. Well, technically, Inoue Taku's debut for this song came in the form of Sanji Junihun, but this also counts.
This also counts definitely. Like the way it opens with just the trumpet, like
It's such a distinctive function of Inotaku's production on this song.
not just Inotaku's production, to be honest. Like, well, Inotaku has a hand in it in the sense that I think when people hear Stellar Stellar, and then like after a year or 2 years or so, and you tell them stellar, stellar, the first thing that comes to their mind is that note.
It's a giant, massive, like,
That
trumpet slash
giant, massive.
synth chord.
And then Suisei going, Datenboku wa hoshi dakara.
It starts with only the sound of Suisei's voice and then bang.
Yeah.
There's
Like,
something
for
to
me,
say
that
about it, yeah.
sticks. That sticks.
It sticks, yeah. Like, imagine popping on the CD and then this is like the first thing you ever is that.
Yeah.
Or like pressing play on the on any streaming service, because that's usually how people consume music nowadays. And
Anyway,
it's
continue.
so, and I think
Since we're just talking about the opening at this point.
yeah,
Continue.
this is the first like 15 seconds of the song.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I do need to emphasize here, because I said something earlier about Inotaku, but the thing about it is that Suisei herself actually also is such a detail-minded person. Let's introduce actually both of these figures to people in the audience who may not be familiar with Hoshimachi Suisei.
I do it?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Yeah, because anyway. So Hoshimachi Suisei is a virtual YouTuber. She started out as an independent virtual YouTuber before being folded into Inonaka Music under Cover Corporation, which, for people who do not know, I work with them.
Yeah, it's public now, so we can say that now.
As a translator. And then later on, after a while, she was moved from from Inonaka Music into Hololive Production itself as an idol for Hololive. And her journey throughout that took around 3 years or so. Indie, then Inonaka, and then finally Hololive proper. She started really booming once she got into Hololive proper itself, especially with her release of her cover of Superfly.
Kakse by Superfly.
Kakse, yeah. Superfly song, Kakse. And then once she released her first single under Holo, which is Thank You.
Wait, isn't Comet her first single? Or was it from Indie
Comet's
Days?
her first single, but she was an indie back then.
Okay.
That was her very first song.
So Thank You is the...
Thank You is under Holo.
Okay. It's like the first words of the title, because the title is actually pretty long. Thank You is something.
Yeah. I could look it up if I wanted to, but...
Yeah.
Thank you, Suisei.
Suisei Umatayde something.
Thank you, Suisei wa Yoro Umatayde. But yeah, that put her on the map. And then eventually, things just snowballed from there. People started noticing her. Very good producers started noticing her, like Inotaku. And the rest is history, literally.
The thing
That's for Inotaku.
Yeah, it's really nice that, because this is the segue to the thing that I was going to talk about, which is the entire saga about the 3 months ish that she had to produce Next Color Planet. So Next Color Planet is
as well, yeah.
Yeah, Next Color Planet is the song that she debuted following, I think it was her birthday live.
Yes.
It was her birthday
Suisei
live.
likes to do this. Suisei loves to do this. She releases, she previews songs on her live concerts and such.
Yeah, live.
I remember that night where we were all eating at Ramen Nagi.
Yeah, we were actually in Ramen Nagi with Ralphinium actually, and
yeah.
Who else was with us? I think we were. It was also Inui. I think Inui was also with us then.
I think Inui was with us, and I think Roy was with us as well.
You got it. Okay.
I remember that moment. We were all on data.
It was like there's we were trying to not be super loud inside of the
We were
ramen
trying to not
nagi
scream.
because otherwise there would be like screaming.
Yeah, we were trying to not scream throughout the entire time, but it was so hard not
It
to
was sort of
because when Next Color Planet dropped, fuck.
the weirdest part about this is that like I the one that the thing that made me super hype about it was the actual artist credit when I saw the kanji Takuya Sakai Takuya on the artist credit. I was like, wait, this guy did a song with Suisei, and it's like
Yeah. I gotta hand it as well to Suisei's managers and producer because like they do good work.
they do really really good work. And so the thing I wanted to discuss about this song Next Corner Planet is that Suisei herself actually has a really particular taste and like work ethic almost that she somehow managed to be able to like communicate with the producers and everyone. It's such a nice thing that she got such a talented producer such as Sakai-san to do it, because there was no way they could have done the song on time had both people not been as talented as they were.
Yeah.
And there is kind of an element of almost perfectionism to Suisei whenever she does release a new song like this. And
She's extremely professional about it.
yeah, she has a very extreme professional air about it. And I think this entire I mean, there's stories. I mean, we can look up like the stream where Suisei talks about having the production process of Let's Go to Our Planet. There's also Taku Inoue in Inotaku also talking in the debut stream about his experiences working with Suisei. And now this full album was such a, I mean, it was inevitable almost, but the contents that were in it were almost as surprising as they were, because we did not know that there was gonna be an additional 6 extra tracks aside from the 8 that we already know, because we've heard like more than half of this album already. But the surprising thing was, first, Suisei casually announcing that she had just written a song specifically for the game Shunedem.
Yeah, that was surprising.
And announced it as a surprise drop.
Yeah. Almost to the point of being scary, actually.
Almost being scared, because Sega did not announce this, Suisei did.
Yeah.
And having the reins to drop that kind of announcement before Sega is scary.
Like, do you know how much power Suisei has in Holo? She actually has a really, like, whenever she says something, it's on the level of either Fuki or Koko back then.
So she has like admin pull as well.
Yeah, like when she says something, when she wants something, she gets it.
I mean, we've
So,
already
like,
established that, hey, I can make an album that is of such high quality already as it is. That is like, it topped, or not really topped. I don't know what the actual charting. It charted very highly on Oricon the week it came out, and stayed there.
Actually, let me check. Still stellar. Where do I find the ratings actually?
the rankings.
Okay. I frequently just check Wikipedia often, but
Or Japanese Wikipedia. We can do that, I guess.
my peak chart position for Still Stellar is 6th on Oricon.
The album chart for all of
Yes.
Japan on the week it came out.
Yeah. 6th on Oricon. That's actually pretty high.
That's high for a debut album.
For a debut album for a VTuber.
For a VTuber. Let's see. Kensaksuru. Wait.
AP Digital.
What much do you say? There it is. Okay.
Billboard Japan Hot Albums 4th. Billboard Japan
Yogi.
Top Album Sales 6th.
Okay.
Oricon 6th.
Oricon 6th. That's high.
That's actually ridiculously high.
That's really high. For no, she wasn't unknown. She was far from being unknown. But to basically go into the mainstream
From a
album chart and then
niche
just do this.
from a niche industry such as VTubing, at least like comparatively niche, and to get to sixth, like if you compare VTubing maybe a few months ago to stuff like mainstream J-pop, idols, etc. Like when I say idols, I mean here like the AKB48 scene,
Yeah,
the
the
48
conventional
scene,
idols.
the conventional 48 scene. VTubers are VTubers have a niche, but they're not that big of a market yet. And still stellar topped got to six in the Oricon charts, which says a lot. It says a lot about Suisei's reach as an artist.
It does, and we're not even talking about like we've barely scratched the surface about the actual composition of the song at this point.
Yeah, like we're just raving about how good it is. We haven't said why it is good.
Yeah, we
So
haven't.
let's try to get into that. Why is it good? Why is Stellar so good? Actually, what do you think? Like I'm actually asking you directly this because I obviously have a bias
Yeah. Okay.
as as someone who is undercovers sort of undercovers payroll.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a little bit of conflict of interest, but yeah, as
There's
someone
a
who
like as a fan, I know what makes it good, but it's also tainted by the fact that I know. Well, I don't know the production process itself, but I know who translated the lyrics to it, and he did such a really good job at translating the lyrics for it. So I'll defer to you.
okay. So from a production, for at least me as a quote unquote idol enthusiast, which means
Okay.
I've my background is that since 2020, or it's even earlier than that, even because I know we've discussed this a lot, even pre-lockdown, that me and Seele have always been doing back and forths about idol music, not just in Japan, not just in virtual talent, not just in Korea, not just but also here in this country,
Yeah.
and part of this is an innate curiosity to find out what exactly makes idol music tick. And interestingly, a lot of what makes Stellar stand out is, and actually almost is this entire album, is how unidol like it is.
Exactly. That's also one of the good parts.
This is this to compare it to idol music is almost comparing apples and oranges, because what Suisei and the production team have achieved with Still Stellar, the album, is that this is as close as you can get to a virtual talent being assigned to write a modern pop-leaning electronica album in 2021. Well,
Would you
2020 and
even call,
21, because some of these
would
songs
you
are
even
actually pretty
call
old.
this? Would you even actually call this sort of electronic?
Uh,
Because a huge, like if you notice Still Stellar's entire, if you look at Still Stellar as an entire album, and then you notice the instrumentation, it's actually trumpety.
yeah, it's brassy. It's
It's brassy.
I didn't
It has
say
so
that the
much
electronic
brass.
elements were the main defining element of this album. On the contrary, because like Thank You, among other songs on this album, has
It's very
almost
rock.
zero electronic elements
Yeah.
on it. But the thing is that the backbone of this being almost very similar to what I'd like to call like the new sound of J-pop, which is like this. I can't explain what it is, but it sounds in line with stuff that the more popular artists like Yoasobi, for example, have been like putting out these years.
Yoasobi is more of an alt.
alt rock. Would alt rock? Would I
Yeah,
call it alt
yeah.
rock or yeah?
I'm just speaking names at this point because I
Like
haven't listened.
if I want a more traditional parallel to it, I'm thinking of Nana Mizuki's stuff for Symphogear
Yeah,
because
that
those are also very brass heavy.
the
Except they're
Symphogear
brass
vocal
heavy in a
tracks in
sense
general.
that
Yeah.
it's yeah. No, well, no, not the vocal tracks in general, specifically Nana Mizuki's tracks,
Oh, okay.
because those tend to be very punchy with their brass,
Mm.
but at the same time, it's like it's it's more like battle music for Nana Mizuki's stuff. That's usually how brass is implemented in more mainstream J-pop. Well, at least for my associations. What Suisei does here is that she sets it up as a brightener. It's
Ah,
not
okay.
what Suisei does. It's not there to accompany the percussion. It's there to brighten the atmosphere from what is initially a dull. Like for example, if you notice like how the verses go in Stellar Stellar, so like she opens with Daate Boku Hoshida Kara and then like boing.
Yeah,
So it brightens up like Suisi's vocals already set up the stage, and then the entire the brass brightens up the brass is like a spotlight
yeah.
that brightens everything up, and then after you get to that, it calms down a bit to just Suisi's vocals and a bit of percussion, and then once you get to the chorus, like sono te wo no bashite, and then like
And then
trumpet
accents.
trumpet accents everywhere.
I now figured out what I was going to compare it to because I figured out what the artist I wanted to compare Suisei to was. It was
Okay, go.
official Higedan Desen
Oh,
because specifically
yeah,
they have a song called
yes.
they have a song called Shukumei, which is kind of exactly like that.
Like trumpet accents.
Trumpet accent. The entire hook is a trumpet melody. Da, 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 that one. I'm going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be linking that to the chat actually, so that Seele can see what I mean. To me, official Higedan Desen. It was that one.
Oh,
There's like a audible pause usually, but anyway, here it is. So this entire thing, right? I think what you were asking me was that what exactly do I think is really really good about this, as like
Yeah.
a person who's interested in idol music in general,
yeah.
is that there is such an air of almost. I mean, I think the name is kind of the name of the album is kind of indicative of what the type of sounds it's trying to evoke. Stellar.
Yeah.
It's
Stellar.
there is a sense that everything is larger than it is,
Yes.
which is kind of unheard of when it comes to idol music because I think idol music likes to keep its vocals upfront and upfront in the sense that you're in close range with it. And you're very focused and among especially for multi-unit for units who have different vocal talent, but Suisei is a solo artist. So in an idol song usually you have sections built around each talent, right? And then there's like ensemble, there's like
On some chorus.
choruses where the words are hard. The voices kind of intermingle to each other. Here, it plays with the perception of space, in the sense, that,
Yes.
especially one song I like to emphasize is Ghost, the fourth track.
Oh,
This is I think one of the most effective sound painting things in this entire album because the song is about how Suisei herself feels invisible even after having attained this much level of success. or something to that effect. And
Ghost is a fairly specific song, actually.
yeah.
Ghost is about, so you say, like you're correct in that aspect, that she still feels invisible, but it's not just about herself. It's about the VTubing scene in general.
With the VTubing scene in general. Okay.
How it's still like, they're still considered invisible. So there's Ghost, and you could actually like trace the development of her thought process. Like first you had the Next Color Planet, which is basically her intro song. Then you have Ghost, which expresses some of her frustrations. And then finally you have Stellar,
Which is I'm
which
here.
is like, I'm here, fuck you all. And then she establishes her presence front and center.
Front and center. So the idea behind like Ghost is, for the most part, like a lot of it is content with letting Suisei's vocals sit in the background, almost blending in with the vocals, and then Negosto Mitai, and then everything cuts away, leaving only her.
Yeah.
And then it like she's exposed as almost like being alone, and that's like one of whenever that happens in the song, it's always like extremely vulnerable.
It's also extremely powerful. It was like that's where you can tell like it's the pain. There's a certain amount of pain in there that's expressed.
Like whoever produces for Suisei knows knows her style really well, in the sense that she, whenever emphasis is needed to show specific parts of the line that she's singing, they deliver. Silence is actually one of the most effective tools in Suisei's arsenal.
I'm pretty sure like Suisei actually has a direct hand in like directing the composition of any particular track that she has. Like I'm like her producers and the composers like should they give her an outline, and then she has little points that she's like, oh, I'd like this to be done this way, or this to be done this way. Like she's that kind of artist. Very meticulous.
We could say more, but I do think that we'd like you to just listen to the thing.
Yeah.
Because like Stellar
Just listen
is
to
the
the
first track. It's the first track on the album. It will be a
Please buy the album. No. I won't tell you to buy the album. I'll tell you to listen to the Stellar MV on Suisei's channel.
which
And then
will
you
also be linked in
decide.
the description.
Yeah.
Card.
And then you decide. You decide on whether or not you want to buy the album.
Okay.
For the record, I have not bought the album.
I was actually trying to, and then I'm not sure how exactly. Because if I want to buy Still Star, I want a physical version of it.
Oh, you could easily import it. It's easy.
We are proceeding to the last section of me and Seilei's section. This is Apollo by TJ.Hangneil, which is
Okay.
how you put this in here, and I'm like, it's interesting that you put an auto guest song as one of the things that you would highlight in this section of the stream, and
Okay. So, okay.
it's an instrumental
I
auto guest
showed-
song that originates in
It's an instrumental song in Ongeki.
Ongeki.
So it's from the game Ongeki. And the artist is by TJ.Hangneil, which is tongue-in-cheek for Sasakure UK. Even though he will never admit it. He will always say TJ.Hangneil is some otherworldly being who sends him song tracks. But essentially what Apollo is that it's like a culmination of both TJ.Hangneil and I actually mentioned this to Kasho a while back. Like we were talking about Vocaloid stuff, and Sasakure himself was a Vocaloid artist back then with Hello World. But
probably
then
look you
he
up.
started.
I
But
should
then he
probably keep the
started.
chart.
Okay. But then he started branching out into other music, and eventually found. Well, no, his style has always been apparent ever since World, ever since Hello Planet, and it's very chiptune
almost like it's very electronic. That's for sure. You can't deny that it's almost purely electronic, with a lot of piano tones in it. What makes Sasakura unique, though, is that he's not afraid to destroy genres entirely, in a sense, and like to not be contained in a particular way. Like eventually, this sort of style just falls under the really generic term of hardcore, but it's it's a bit more flavorful than that.
Yeah,
Sasakura is
hardcore does have a very specific sound, and it's like this is kind of like codified by artists like Onoken almost. But
Onoken,
Sasakura's stuff is very individual.
it's very
It
individual.
is extremely difficult to replicate Sasakura UK's sound.
Yeah, like there are artists that are parallel to him in terms of sounding computational, like Frums. But Frums is like on the extreme end of computational music. Sasakura's music has a bit more. I think it's less of an element of randomness, an element of melody. Like not to say that Frums doesn't have melody. Frums definitely has their music,
Yeah,
but
there is melody in From's music. It's just uh the thought processes behind From's versus Sasakura UK's music is different.
yeah, like Frums has a very specific goal with regards to their composition. Sasakura, on the other hand, tends to have more of a thematic approach. Like it's a bit broader than Frums' really laser focused style. But the way that, for example, when it comes to TJ.Hangneil's Apollo, it's also one of those songs that if you listen to it devoid of the music video, it
Or
sounds cool.
or any context. Or any context
Or
of what
any or any context for that matter. It sounds really cool because I first heard of Apollo while looking at the Ongeki chart and crying at how the Ongeki chart was so good because of
I can
like
show the
I've been
Ongeki chart now.
yeah, sure. Like I've been bashing Ongeki for a long time actually because I viewed it as not utilizing its elements to the fullest.
Okay,
Both with
so
the macro
Ongeki.
chart.
So to quickly preface this with what exactly is going on in this, Ongeki is a arcade machine. It's an arcade rhythm game, which has buttons on colored buttons,
It has like
levers.
four buttons on both sides. So it's like three buttons, three upward facing buttons, and you have two side buttons,
I mean,
left and right.
we can. This is not Apollo, but this is a example of a gameplay
Yeah,
video.
it's an example of gameplay video.
So this is what the console will look like. So there is buttons on this side, and then there's
a joystick in the middle,
yeah. So,
and you essentially play the song while dodging bullets at the same time. It's both bullet hell and rhythm game.
so the red things on the screen are bullets. You have to dodge them with the joystick. And there are
Yeah,
also
the red
yellow
balls.
objects on the screen
Yeah.
called bells, which you can collect, even though they're not necessarily required. But
They're not required unless you really want to
ABFB,
get
yeah.
the full points.
To get the
ABF.
so back to
So
Apollo.
back to Apollo. One of my biggest points of discontentment with Ongeki back then was that it was either really hard charts or really hard Danmaku patterns,
But not
and
both.
but not both. And Apollo manages to accomplish that. Even though, well, looking at it again, it's actually quite simple. Well, relatively simple if you look at it for like 100 times
100
already.
times. And if you already know the mechanics of the game and how
Yeah,
a lot of
but
this chart is visual trickery.
yeah, a lot of it is visual trickery, but what I really love about this is how overwhelming the chart was. So, out of curiosity, I looked at Apollo itself, as in the music video, and if you watch Apollo, you'd realize why the chart is designed as it is.
right now. Because Apollo is all about what if the Apollo mission was hijacked by some eldritch entity? And that's actually the general theme of the TJ.Hangneil series. It's very otherworldly. Like TJ.Hangneil songs generally don't sound like human music in a sense. It's the closest of what they sound like the closest approximation to human music an alien would make.
In context, TJ.Hangneil has only released three
3 songs.
total.
So
This is the third.
yeah, Apollo is the third. The first is Kamui. The second is Ozma. And Kamui is more of a traditional-ish song. It still sounds like a song, but
But the
more
shock factor to it comes big in the form of the chart as well, because I don't think there's
Yeah.
ever been any chart in Easy to AC, the game which is from, that is as hard as Kamui.
Kamui. Yeah. To the point where, well, there's a reason why it's in tune with him.
Yeah, it's in Tunism.
It's because, well, the chart is relatively hard, and when it comes to hard charts, you better have it in tune with it. Now, the second song, Ozma, well, really only appeared in a fairly low-key BMX competition, but that sound does not sound like a song at all, at least for normal people. Ozma sounds more like the cries of a being that may or may not be born.
Well,
That's essentially how.
yeah, that kind of is kind of what it is. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out what exactly the chart that I'm looking for. This is an insane BMS chart. I don't want to be using that one. How about this? This is the 11. No, this is no. This is no. This is not level 11 into the extern. This is satellite 11.
11
which is
star.
11 star. So this is also it's on random. So
It's like a 14. Is it a 14 or
this is what it looks like.
Ozma?
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Ozma.
it's Ozma. I get that from the MV. So like Ozma is real. It's almost like well, actually, uh, apart from Kamui, both Ozma and Apollo are like SCPs in music form.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Apollo less so compared to Ozma. Ozma's really weird, but Apollo makes up for it with the music video, because it has like references to Apollo mission, like confidential, confidential, confidential,
Yeah.
and then you get to the far side of the moon. You start to see shadow 2D aliens taking over people, and then there's like an entire cult implication is there as well. It's really creepy. I like it. Like there's a sense of how do I say this? There's a sense of insanity in there.
Yeah,
In Apollo.
just looking at this is driving you insane. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Like that's why compared to an SCP, it's pretty much as close to an SCP as you could get with regards to music. But yeah, I really appreciate that kind of style. And at the same time, like even though it's like an SCP, thing is, if you know the jig that TJ.Hangneil is Sasakure, you can hear the Sasakure in it. Like you can hear references to Kamui, you could hear references to Ozma, but then you also you know the progression. You could trace it all the way back to Hello Planet.
Yeah, there is nothing in all three of the TJ.Hangneil songs that doesn't link it back to Sasakure in some form.
Yeah,
So it's not Sasakure trying to make borderline not music, but it is definitely
Sasakure.
an expression that tries to stretch the boundaries as far as possible without losing its identity.
Like it's his way of trying to explore the unknown in a sense.
And
It's
it's
an
also
exploration of the unknown.
it's an
While
interesting
still-
take on the idea of quote unquote boss songs in a
Yeah.
in a rhythm game. Because to me,
Actually, I
it's
don't
interesting
even
that
know
there
if
is even like what exactly constitutes like why did boss songs become a thing? Is it because of I don't know me?
Anime was made into the Otoge boss song scene, to be honest. Also, well, I think it's a culmination of for it because you know that anime was like when was anime released? It
This
was
is
May
Happy
released.
Sky, so this was 09, I think. I don't know.
Happy Sky was still okay. Okay, scratch that. May really did set the trend because after May,
05, sorry, 05,
after,
2005.
yeah, after May, after Happy Sky, you got Distorted, and then that's when you got Cardinal Gate.
And then Cardinal
So,
Gate, yeah.
and then Cardinal Gate basically set the entire pattern for boss songs from then on.
It's interesting
But
because like this is really old because I think we just uncovered an interesting line of observation because if May as a song, the song from 2DX is all the way like 05 and the most iconic boss songs from BMS of Fighters started showing up around 08. 08, 09. And then
I think those were like inspired by partly by May, but I think they were also more like directed of Cardinal Gate.
Yeah. We're trying to find a through line between this and possibly like Sasakure in general because I don't like when did Kamui come out actually? I don't know what style it originated in. Because it's actually a really interesting idea that we're trying to like figure out the there it is Namu Wiki. Oh no, it's in Korean. I'm gonna try and read as much as I can from it. Easy to DJ 7th. 7th was released when? Two 2009.
Hmm.
So there is that. Okay. Kamui has such an interesting reputation as it is, as a song in general. Like, it's one of those songs or charts in any rhythm game that has like almost like mythic status to them.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said of like Sasakure's other work, which is including Jack the Ripper, for example.
Jack the Ripper is more of a like it's nice, but it's also fairly easy to be honest, especially online.
And I think it's no. I'm not talking about like how difficult the chart is. It's more of this.
The song
That was Sasakure's representative work during that time.
Yeah, I think during that time, but I more associate him now with Garashia and Emperor.
In my mind, okay.
Yeah, at least personally.
Or did Sasakure also produce Senko no Brionak?
Yes, Brionak as well, but I don't actually remember compared to like the other two.
It's not a boss song.
Yeah,
It's hard, but it's not a boss song.
it's hard, but it's not the boss song. I could easily guess it.
But again, like, although Senko no Brionak does illustrate one very common thing about Sasakure music, which is the computerized voice.
Yes,
That definitely is the through line back to all the way from the Vocaloid days with Hello Planet.
yeah, but that's also why, like I also mentioned, Sasakura has a very computational approach to his sound. Like you would always hear like beeps and glitches and stuff.
Yeah, beeps,
Whenever you,
glitches, dissonant chords,
yeah,
especially for piano chords. Sasakora's piano chords
and
tend to be either both really, really consonant or really, really discordant.
yeah, and then you eventually see all of that in a
Did
like
you
you
did you
see
disconnect?
you
All of that in a
what
one
you eventually see all of that in Apollo.
in Apollo. Yeah. Every TJ.Hangneil song does kind of feel like a culmination of sorts.
Yeah. Well, no, not really, not really. Amway maybe. Ozma no. Ozma was definitely an experiment. And then Apollo was that experiment plus all of everything Sasakune had can throw at you. That's basically how I characterize it, at least.
Mm.
And of course, we're not even getting to his UK rampage.
Yeah, UK
Uh,
Rampage is an almost different beast on its own. Actually,
it's a different beast on its own, but it's very Sasakune.
it's very Sasakura. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all I could
Yeah, that's
actually say about it.
that should
I,
be it for the first part of episode 9.
yeah,
I think after this we'll be going to a small break because
going to a small break and I'll be sleeping.
yeah, and I will be inviting Goro for the next segment.
Yeah, go summon him.
Yeah. Anything to say before we end this session?
Have you heard of? Have you seen Bye Bye Rainy?
The video, not yet.
Go watch it. It's good.
Or it's new, right? It's new. So
Yes, it's part of the album, but it's new.
yeah, the video is new.
And
I've listened to the song before, but not the video.
like if I were to have a few personal favorites in the still stellar that is not stellar, it'll be Bye Bye Rainy and uh, what was that one? Kate,
Kate ni Dazzling.
yeah, Kate ni Dazzling.
Jibun Kate
Those-
Dazzling.
Jibun Kate Dazzling, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite
And-
track my favorite not new track on the album is Thank You, actually, because that song does kind of conjure to me very specific feelings about indie Vocaloid era rock that I want to recreate in my own music.
Yeah, actually, it does give out that vibe.
If I wanted to make music, I wanted it to sound like that.
Good luck.
No, the instrumental. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but still good luck.
Yeah,
because,
it's difficult to do that without like a proper like backing band.
yeah. Or if you knew how to compose for guitar.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to compose for guitar though.
And then once Goro comes on, signing off.
Yeah, no, we can sign off now. Actually, I can just restart the stream because the internet is kind of as it is already. I can
Yeah.
I can make people wait in for the intermission screen for now.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah.
Tell me about sodium. It is an element that the body needs to work properly. Sodium is involved in your body's regulation of both blood pressure and